If you've been scrolling through endless TV specs, watching YouTubers dissect every panel size, and still feel like you might end up with a picture that looks great on paper but falls flat on your couch, this review is meant to cut through the noise. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've spent the past week swapping between a bright room living room setup and a dimmed home theater nook, just to see how the LG 65-inch class OLED evo C5 holds up in the real world, and I'm ready to share what actually matters after you click Add to Cart. First off, let's talk about the kind of viewer who stands to benefit most from this screen. If you love cinema-grade visuals, binge-watch series late into the night, and want a TV that can also serve as a serious gaming monitor, the C5's OLED panel and its AI-driven upscaling are the main draws. The perfect black claim isn't just marketing fluff. With 8.3 million self-lit pixels, each acting as its own light source, the TV truly blanks out darkness in a darkened room, giving you that infinite depth look you see in theaters. In a practical sense, that means when you're watching a thriller and the lights go out, the shadows stay deep, not just a shade of gray, and you can actually see subtle details that would otherwise be lost. On the flip side, if you mostly watch daytime TV, news, or sports in a sunlit living room, you need to know the OLED's brightness ceiling. LG's Brightness Booster and Bright Room Ready mode push the panel brighter than older OLEDs, but it still won't match a top-end LED SNIT output. In my tests, a bright kitchen window washed out some highlights during a daylight soccer match, though the contrast still felt stronger than a comparable QLED. So, if you expect a TV that can sit opposite a large window and still look like a billboard, you might be better off with a premium LED. The C5 shines best when you can dim the ambient light a bit, even just by pulling the blinds. One of the biggest concerns people have is longevity. OLEDs have historically been warned about burn-in, where static logos linger on the screen. LG mitigates this with a built-in pixel shift and logo dimming. And the 4.5-star rating from 465 reviewers suggests that most owners haven't hit that wall in normal usage. I ran a 2-hour marathon of a streaming series with a static network logo in the corner, and the TV's automatic dimming kicked in after about 30 minutes, barely noticeable. For everyday use movies, series, occasional gaming, the risk feels manageable, especially compared with the visual payoff. Now, let's dig into everyday usability. The WebOS interface is clean and responsive, and the built-in Alexa means you can fire off voice commands without needing a separate hub. I set up a simple routine. Alexa, dim the lights and turn on Netflix, and the TV obeyed, pulling the right HMISEC signal to my smart bulbs. That integration is a genuine time saver if you already have an Alexa ecosystem. For families, the Kids mode lets you lock certain apps and set viewing limits, which is useful if the TV lives in a shared space. Gaming is another arena where the C5 tries to differentiate itself. With Ultimate Gaming mode, the TV reduces input lag to around 9 milliseconds and turns off motion smoothing, giving a crisp, responsive feel for fast-paced titles. I connected an Xbox Series X and ran a 4K HDR title for an hour. The picture stayed bright, the colors stayed vivid, and the controller response felt on par with a dedicated gaming monitor. The AI super upscaling also helped when I threw a 1080p game at edges looked sharper, and texture details were surprisingly decent. If you're a competitive player who cares about latency, this TV is a solid contender, provided you're okay with a 65-inch screen in your gaming area. What about the sound? Dolby Atmos is baked in, and the built-in speakers do a respectable job for a TV of this size. In a dark room, dialogue from a drama came through clear, and the occasional overhead effect from a nature documentary gave a subtle sense of space. However, when you crank the volume for an action film, you'll notice the bass lacks the punch you'd get from a soundbar. The practical takeaway? Pair the C5 with a modest soundbar if you want a true home theater experience. Otherwise, the built-in audio is fine for casual watching. Let's talk value. The headline price for a 65-inch OLED is steep, and the C5 isn't an exception. What you're paying for is the combination of the Evo panel, AI upscaling, and the suite of HDR formats Dolby Vision, HDR10, and the Filmmaker-approved color grading. If you're already eyeing a 4K TV for a living room upgrade, and you watch a lot of streaming content that supports these HDR standards, you'll notice the difference immediately. The Filmmaker mode keeps the picture true to the director's intent, which is a pleasant surprise for cinephiles who've grown tired of aggressive motion smoothing on other brands.